Hey, still becoming. Welcome to the show again. Like I told you, my last week episode, I have a special guest. His name is Jim Logan, an amazing guy, an author of, his book that he's basically walking through his adventure with cancer and, stage 4, and he's working through it. He's going to be in Kona Ironman and currently training for that while doing treatment for cancer. And it's an inspiring story. I am so excited for this man to be on the show and kind of preach the still becoming. And again, we'll get into it, but you don't have to have cancer to have something to get off your, butt there and, follow your passions and stay active. But doesn't help, I guess, to have cancer to kind
Yeah,
of wake you up.
yeah,
So I brought my Jim on now, and we'll kind of run through just kind of what it takes to, undertake not just an Ironman, but how to manage all of that, and a little bit about his life, and how he got into all this, and just kind of hanging out with Jim. So welcome, welcome, Jim. Hopefully you're doing great. It looks like you're doing at least quite
yeah,
well from when I talked to
absolutely.
you.
Appreciate the introduction. Thank you so much for hosting me.
Yes.
Yeah, it's been an interesting journey. Though I've done more in the last 2 years than I probably did in the first 59. Cancer kind of lit a fire under my butt, but like you said, you don't have to wait to get cancer to do some things, to make some changes in your life. So I hope to inspire people in a few ways. It's one of the reasons I wrote the book. Just keep trying. TRI-ING. A little play on words there for triathlon. But this is the lessons I've learned throughout my life, and I really believe the Ironman lifestyle, the disciplined lifestyle of training, continuous training, pursuing goals, has really prepared me for the greatest battle of my life, which is battling stage 4 cancer. I was diagnosed April of 24, and I guess it's been about 2 years. I just achieved no evidence of disease for the second time in 2 years. Yeah. Initially, the diagnosis is considered terminal, which means I'm going to die eventually. But what I always tell people is, you better brace yourself, because unfortunately, you're terminal as well. We're all terminal. So once I got
Yeah.
that in my head, it's like, well, that's nothing special. They said terminal, and the word itself bothered me initially. Just the nature of the word is like, what do you mean terminal? I don't feel terminal. So I looked up the definition, and the simplest definition is the end. And as I look back over the 2 years, it was anything but terminal. It wasn't the end for me. It was the beginning of so many things that I could never have imagined at the time. For instance, being an average triathlete, an average athlete, you have almost no chance of getting to the Ironman World Championship in Kona, Hawaii, which has become the most iconic one-day endurance event in the history of the world. Really the event that invented all the events, because it came first in 1978. A bunch of crazy people decided to get together and do this ridiculous race. And now you got people doing, 250-mile runs, and, the extremeness, they just off the charts. But for me, the Ironman is the ultimate one-day endurance event. And I believe, that just getting to the Ironman is a miracle in itself. And then writing the book, I never thought I'd be an author either. So the book's going to be released tomorrow, believe it or not, on Amazon,
Whoa.
hardback, paperback, ebook, and audio. It took me a good year to write it, and I wrote it while battling cancer, while doing chemo, just for instance, I did, since April of 24, I've done 24 chemotherapy sessions, 5 radiation treatments, and then surgeries to include the removal of 40% of my colon, 60% of my liver, all of my gallbladder, all of my rectum, resulting in the ostomy that I'll be racing with in Kona. And at the same
Ooh.
time, I continued to train for the races, and then I found time to write the book as well. So it's a real time, me going through it and how I manage it. So I hope people like it. People who've read it so far have really seemed to enjoy it. So
That's amazing, man. I am speechless by how much just emotion is in your voice there with, I mean, yeah, it's for me, yeah, I can only imagine what
well, the
that
first
doom
6 months,
setting
I will tell
feels
you,
like.
that I didn't start here. I
Hmm.
landed here. You're seeing the 2 year version of a guy who went through all the emotions that you would imagine. I mean, I was 59 and a half. happily married to my wife, beautiful wife, Kelly, of 30 years. My son's 21, well adjusted. I managed a 30-year home inspection business in Atlanta, which I recently retired from. I had a charmed life. We didn't have a care in the world. I was 185 pounds, single digit body fat, competing in Ironman level triathlons. I mean, I was the healthiest guy I know. And then to one day just get a stage 4 terminal diagnosis, it knocked me on my ass for about 6 months mentally. Physically, I continued to train and race, even though the races just went horrible. And I just didn't want my last race to be my last race. So I just kept signing up, knowing that who knows if I could finish or not. But I think I was about 6 months in when I had an epiphany and decided to live instead of, planning to die. And it just was a turning point. And that's when I decided to write the book. And that's when shortly after that, I decided I wanted to go to Kona, and I decided I wanted to write the book. I wrote the book, having no experience being an author, and then found my way to the Ironman triathlon through the Ironman Foundation, which is the charitable wing of the Ironman. And they always make room in the race for people with disabilities, people with hardships, people with cancer. From the very beginning, they've done that. And that's one of the most inspirational parts of the race is not the winners so much or the great athletes, which we all appreciate, the talent. But the people who are just the ordinary folks doing extraordinary things, and it lifts the human spirit. And I'm just so proud to be a part of it. I've
Yeah,
also
I
agreed
mean,
to raise $100,000 for the foundation, and I plan to use the profits from the book to fund that goal. So the whole thing is just tied up in a nice, neat little package that gives me a purpose, gives me a reason to live, gives me a reason to get up in the morning. I'm living with cancer, not dying from it. So, and right now I'm beating cancer, so I'm winning.
I love it. Yes. And I'll have that link on my
Yeah,
Instagram, as well as I'll have it in the show notes too when this goes live next week. But
fantastic.
I'm just, I hope we can get you to your goal. And, I want to reiterate what you had said about, yeah, it's great having the elites there and having, that inspiration from them alone to see what human performance is like. But to have people like yourself and, even myself at 40, still having a crack at it, not an elite,
Yeah,
was never an elite, was semi-pro, but, it was more of that, more inspiration. We're more relatable than, say, the elite guy, and
yeah,
in some cases I
yeah,
would say you're way more relatable than I could be at this point in my life. But to me, those are the sort of the stories that need to be told. These are the things that need to get out there. These are the things that, everyday Joe and Sally on the couch there is just like, I could never be that. And that's kind of my mission with the show, Still Becoming, is this notion
yeah,
of you can still become at any age, but just know a lot of the noise out there is just fabricated to make them look like they're untouchable, anyone out there. But
yeah,
in actuality, most of those people are so young and, in the prime of their life that there's no correlation there. And I want to
yeah,
bring this attention to people to say, look, you can get off your butt. You can do this. You just need to realize it takes time. You took 6 months to kind of like, oh my gosh, like I need to get through this. And you still competed. It wasn't perfect. But now, here we are a year and a half later from that moment,
yeah,
and you are still thriving. You have told yourself patience is the game. I just need to realize, hey, I'm not 20 something and I'm not dying right now.
yeah.
I'm dying at some point in the future, but in the meantime, I'm going to be the best version of who I can be right now. And
Yeah,
that's
I
Jim
still have
Logan
things. I still have
currently.
things I want to do.
Yeah.
Mostly, as you just said, I want to inspire as many people as I can. The main purpose of writing the book, as I entered into the cancer world, which I was unfamiliar with, you enter cancer wards. Georgia Cancer Center is where I go. The Winship Cancer Center down at Emory, one of the best in the world. Um, and you see the hopelessness. The infusion rooms are brutal. You see the hopelessness, you feel the despair. I liken it to being in a morgue, only everybody's still alive, but they're all thinking about being dead. So the mood in the room is morbid, and I didn't like it. It's not my style. So I decided maybe one way I could help would be to write a book and give faith to the faithless, hope to the hopeless, show people that there is a way to live a meaningful life, even when you're diagnosed with a terminal disease. There's still a way to make the best of it, right up to the very, very end.
Yeah.
And so that's what I've decided. That's what I've decided to do, mostly because it helps me get through this. And the
Yeah.
way you keep yourself from thinking about bad things is just flood your mind with good things. Writing the book through chemo, through surgeries, was a great outlet. It was the best medicine. I would say it's a prescription. I've said this about triathlon. It's a prescription no doctor can write. If you're depressed, as you know, as a runner,
Yeah.
go run 10 miles. That's better than any medicine you can get at the pharmacy. You know what I mean?
Yes, absolutely. It's
So for me, that was therapy, and writing the book was, I put my heart and soul into that. So to get the feedback that I'm getting from really people that I respect, people that I don't even know, who've told me that the book is meaningful, it's powerful, that they really got something out of it, has been one of the greatest joys of my life, and I can't wait for it to get out there. I'm going to do my best to promote it and just see where it goes. But it's a short, easy read. It's philosophical. First, you think maybe it's a book about cancer, maybe it's a book about triathlon, but I think it's really a book about faith, family, friends, relationships, and like I said, an ordinary guy doing some extraordinary things, and just try to share my philosophies, and hopefully I can help a few people. It sounds a bit cliche, but now I totally understand it. If it helps one person, it would be worthwhile, and I already know that it's helped more than one. So
that's the goal, man. That's essentially what my channel's about too, is just, hey, podcasts, I may get a few listens when it goes out, but to me, I'm like, I complete my mission. My mission is
yeah,
one person, just one. If I can get one every week to
one show
just
at a
simply,
time, one person at a time.
that is more
Everything
than you.
starts small and then it gets big.
Yes.
So you all have to start somewhere. And
Mm-hmm.
if you believe in what you do, you're sincere about it, and then that will come through, and I believe you'll be very successful.
Absolutely. Thanks, man. As we get into this too, I guess, talk me back to, what were you doing before cancer? Like, you said you were doing triathlon and, kind of your experience through life with athletics,
Yeah.
and then also like your diagnosis, like what are you sitting in the doctor's office? Like, hey man, I hate to tell you this. And of course, a lot of people can get these same,
Uh,
yeah, well, of course he
that was
told
an
you you have
interesting
cancer.
day.
Yeah.
I was 2 weeks away from Ironman Texas 24. I was scheduled to do Texas Ironman April 24th, and the first week I got diagnosed with cancer and terminal. Um, so I walked out of the office. I sat on a park bench for about, I don't know, it felt like 30 minutes. Maybe it was longer. Completely in a daze, completely bewildered, completely uncertain what to do next. Just total shock because I had to drive home and tell my wife and son that this was what I'm dealing with. And I'll tell you, one of the hardest parts, I don't care about the pain, the suffering, the surgeries, the chemo. I can take all of that. The hardest thing for me was telling my wife that I wasn't going to be able to fulfill many of the promises that I had made to her as far as growing old together and doing some of the things that we had talked about doing. I literally couldn't speak. I couldn't formulate words. I just went to tears. And still to this day, you can hear my voice cracking a little bit. I didn't want to hurt her.
Yeah.
And having to tell my son, my father, my mother, my sisters, my brother, my family, my friends, one after the other, to see the pain in their eyes was worse than the cancer to me. I was hurting people that I cared about, even though it was unintentional, and nobody was going to hold me responsible for having cancer. Put the pain on those people like that, because as big a shock as it was to me, it was to them. Nobody expected me, of all people, to be that sick. And to have
Yeah.
to tell my family that was ridiculously difficult. And that was the hardest part.
Man,
But
it's
now we've
yeah,
all come to acceptance. So, as my
you're
wife likes to say, as long
growing.
as I'm doing well, she's doing well. So,
I love it.
you really can't see the bad effects of cancer on me. Um, but the last round almost killed me. The last 6 rounds of chemo almost killed me. I had 3 large tumors that reemerged in my liver. We did 6 treatments, and I had a choice between mild, medium, and scorched earth. I went with scorched earth. By the end of the 6 treatments, I had a level 3 skin infection. I had developed 2 blood clots on my jugular
Oh,
and had to be hospitalized for 7 days. I just got out of the hospital a couple weeks ago.
yeah, with Snow
But
Instagram,
it's
you have
actually
those.
good timing, believe it or not. Yeah, all the tumors are gone. I have no evidence of disease. The blood clots have been resolved, and I'm just now getting back into training, and I've got all of June, all of July, all of August, and all of September. I already got a good 5 months of training, and I started in December.
Oh,
So now it looks like I have, and I hesitate to get too far in front of myself because things change daily with cancer, but it looks like I'll be able to get through the summer, train through the summer, and make it to Kona. At least, my first objective was to arrive alive. It looks like I can achieve that.
yes.
The second objective was to arrive alive with enough fitness to finish under 17 hours.
Oh,
And I've simplified my life now to just those simple things. I retired from home inspection, and all I do now is work on my health, whatever the doctors tell me to do. Train for the race. I'm going to promote the book and try to raise money for charity. So the rest of my life is hopefully just in service of others, to lift up, inspire, motivate, which is inspiring and motivating me. And they
it
always
lifts
say
you
it
up.
when you give, you get back so much, and I've already experienced that. So
Oh,
yeah, that this part's been good. Doing these podcasts, sharing my story, talking to people like yourself, like-minded people that just want to lift up other folks. It's been really, really rewarding.
that's awesome, man. Yeah. What was your background before? Like, were you a
Yeah,
triathlete, or when did you get into that?
my father was a marathon runner, and
Okay.
he ran
Yeah.
he ran marathons all over the world, Berlin and London, and I
Oh,
was always
yeah.
fascinated watching him cross those big finish lines. He and I did a 10K race in Moscow, 1982.
Wow.
It's in the book. It's in the first paragraph of the book, and it etched in my mind. We flew to Moscow. This is back when it was the Soviet Union, so it wasn't easy to get
Yeah.
in, especially
USSR.
as Americans. But we ran this 10K race in Moscow, and the race ran through the downtown streets of Moscow, and it ended in the Olympic Stadium. And
Wow.
as we entered the stadium, there was a professional soccer match going on, so the stands were full. And we had a
What?
couple, we had a couple ceremonial laps around the track, which went around the soccer field. And so
Whoa.
as we entered the stadium, one of the teams scored a goal, and the whole crowd erupted, and it felt like they were cheering for us. You know what I mean?
Oh my
So
gosh.
I felt like I won an Olympic medal.
That's
And
awesome.
that kind of, watching him do that, and really wanted to just impress my dad. He also put the bug for triathlon into me, because in 1982, which is the year I graduated high school, he called me over to the TV, and it's Wide World of Sports was on, and
Ah,
it was the fourth running of, this is the first time Ironman had hit the big screen and
yes.
national
Okay.
media. It was also the same year that Julie Moss had her time, where, I don't know if you recall this, but she was falling down and she couldn't make it to the finish
Yes.
line, and she ended up
Yes.
crawling across the finish line. And that was one of the
Yes.
first inspirational Ironman moments. It's epic
Oh,
moment.
yeah.
And to me, I'm getting tingle bumps just talking about it. But that was the moment I got hooked. Unfortunately, at the
Whoa.
time, the Ironman was only 4 years old, so littler races, organized races, didn't exist. So
No.
really, through the 80s, you couldn't do triathlons. There was no way to do it. Um, so I stuck with mostly running, even though I wasn't very good at it. But back then I was much faster than I am now. Um, but then I think probably around 1990, the organized races started becoming a little more common. And so
Uh,
since then, really, I got involved with triathlon. I try to do 10 races a year. I
okay.
try to have a bit of a balance in my life, where I had my family comes first, a business comes second, and then I like to have something personal that I do just for me. And
Hmm.
that was my thing. That was my weekend outlet. Started as a hobby, became a obsession, addiction, and then a lifestyle. So, you can't walk around my house without bicycles, and
I
I mean,
love it.
you know immediately, this guy's a triathlete. So
Yes. Just like a runner.
yeah, it's just
The shoes.
it consumed my life, and I'm happy it did, because it's a good thing to be consumed with.
Oh,
Even before
absolutely.
cancer, people were inspired by my efforts, and
Yeah, man.
I had a lot of the same philosophies. But it's funny, people listen to me now more than I'm sick. You know what I mean? It's like I said, there's no way I'd get to Kona if I didn't have cancer. So this is a funny thing to
Uh,
say, but it's absolutely true. And it took me a long time to get to this point, where
hmm.
cancer is clearly the worst thing that's ever happened to me. It's also the
Yeah.
best thing that's ever happened to me. I know some people have a hard time understanding that. Cancer's given me many gifts. And the first gift cancer gave me is time. Time to mend relationships, time to let people know that I care about them, say things that need to be said. So when the time comes, you're not going to be, if I died suddenly of a heart attack, that, I'd leave a lot of people wondering, just bewildered, and that's not going to be the case. So I'm thankful for that. And I'm thankful I wouldn't change the diagnosis if I could go back in time and erase it. I think I'd have to stay on this course, because I'm so happy with the things I'm doing. Um, And I'm not sure. I don't. Right now, I feel like I've got the upper hand on cancer. So, all I have to do is stay alive long enough for AI to figure this shit out, and then I'll be cured.
I love that.
So yeah, I'm
um,
happy. I would say I'm happy I have cancer, but I see that there's a silver lining in the dark cloud, and there always is in life. If you look hard enough, there's a way to turn tragedy into triumph.
Absolutely. Oh, there always is a way. I feel like that's the one thing that's out there a lot of is not enough people looking at the silver lining of things.
It's
We
hard
can
to
look at,
find, man. It's so hard to
yes,
find. It's like it took me a long time to see it,
yeah.
When I'm wallowing in my own misery, they told me 6 months, 2 years to live, and 6 months in, it was playing out that way. I was 30 plus 35 pounds, had a level 3 skin infection. And after I did, well, I would say after I was diagnosed in April of 24, 2 weeks later, I went and said, well, I'm not starting chemo until May 1st. I already paid for everything, hotels and everything. So I was like, why not go to Texas and just see what I can do? And it was
Yeah.
it was a tough day. I got 80 miles into the bike and had to be carted back. I just couldn't go any further, and I was disappointed, thinking that would be my last race. I didn't want to
Uh,
end that way, so it only took about a week. And I was sitting on the couch, and I don't know. I just assumed that's all you could do when you're on chemo, and I just got tired of that real quick. I was like, well, I don't know what I'm gonna do, but I'll tell you this: I'm gonna get off this freaking couch. I just can't sit here. I can't do it. So I signed up for another triathlon. Only this time, it was Chattanooga. So I had the summer to train, and same thing. I went to Chattanooga, and it was just a horrible experience. I was sick. I was terrible. Uh, I didn't know why I was doing this, but that's where the book title comes in. Just keep trying. Because had I
yes.
not done those early races, I wouldn't have got to Kona. I wouldn't have
Yeah.
had the epiphanies. None of this would have happened if I'd have just quit,
Yeah.
if I stopped trying. So sometimes you're in a dark place and you can't see your way out. Just keep trying,
Yes.
you know.
Yes.
And I fall back on what I love. So in your case, you love running. If you hit a hard time in your life like me, you go to what you love. You
Yes.
do what you love. And people have said to me, is like, how do you train on chemo and this and that? I was like, I gotta tell you, how do you sit around and just waller in the misery of chemo? When I get on my bike, all that goes away.
Yes.
That's my best. That's my good time. I wish
Yes.
I could do more of it.
Yeah.
So,
No.
so, so the misconception is that it's miserable to train on chemo. No, that's my escape. That's my happy place.
Yeah.
It's challenging with the ostomy and I had a prolapse stoma, so my intestines pop out of my belly occasionally.
Oh.
I gotta shove them back in. The first time it happened, I went to the emergency room. They popped out about 4 inches.
Whew.
It looks like a little elephant trunk sticking out of your belly. It's really,
Yes.
really freaky. So I
Oh
went
my
to the emergency
gosh.
room, and I expected a surgery of some sort or whatever. And the doctor came in, put table sugar on the intestines, shrunk them, and then
What?
just used his hand to shove them back in there. And so now
Oh my
anytime
gosh.
anytime it pops out, I just shove them back in.
You have a little bag of
Uh,
sugar with you too? Like,
nah, I don't even need the sugar. I just shove it back in there, just like eh.
Whoa.
So
No,
it's
that's go
amazing the
ahead.
things you get used to. It's amazing, like through this process. Like, I had went 59 and a half years without spending a day in a hospital and never barely even having a cold. And now I've had every surgery, procedure, hose stuck up every orifice. And, uh, it's unimaginable when I look back on all the things that I've been through physically. And that's why I really credit my disciplined fitness lifestyle for the ability to get through it. Because
Mhm.
if not for that, who knows if I had the physical resilience, I had the mental resilience as well. So,
Yes.
that's how you build that. It doesn't come
Yes.
by accident. It's like a muscle. You have to build it.
Well, that's one of the things I was, I'm knowing, trying to sort of change my own mechanics and running and lifestyle of this is, when we're young, we're very much in this phase of like, yeah, I'm going to live forever. I'm invincible. And then like, as you transition into your 30s, everyone always has this tendency. And I heard it so many times, heard it from my brothers, heard it from sometimes
Yeah.
some other friends that are older, that notion of, well, just wait till you get there. And
Yeah.
I've hit these blocks, and yes, in my mid 30s is where I just kept fighting, kept pushing, and it hurt. And now a couple years ago, I just decided, you know what? I want to listen to my coach a little more. I had to hire a coach because I just couldn't control myself, and it
Yeah.
was just more of this like, all right, how do you physically do this? How do I end up where 99-year-old Bobby, if that is where I'm at, can still do this with the lessons I'm learning now, and seeing these 87-year-old people, 80s, just still moving at such great, force and, for their age. And it was just this notion of, we got into Norwegian training, what we applied, and that's
Yeah.
more of their training is very like, hey, you get ready for the one day a week that you're going to go,
Hard.
essentially hard, but it's not
Yeah.
really hard. It's like maybe 80,
Less is more.
90%.
Less is more.
Yes.
So
Yes.
they're
And
finding
so,
out that lower impact training, and then you don't have to go balls out all the
no,
time.
you don't
And
have
that's
to. And
see,
it's,
you're like me, and a lot of athletes like us. I have a coach as well, and sometimes a coach is there to push you. In my case, I need to be reeled in. So
yes, I do.
I have coaches, I have doctors, and I have my wife. Otherwise, I will do too much. I'll go too far, and it just does damage.
Yes.
So now I
That's the one
listen.
thing.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think people
I
need to
listen to all
listen
my
to that.
people. Yeah,
Yes, people need to listen to that voice of no, it's okay. You don't have to be the Arnold in the Predator movie. You don't have to be some like
yeah.
vicious warrior to
So you
get
find people you
consistency.
trust. You find people you trust, like your family, your wife, like in my case, my doctor. Um, and so my doctor, early on, about 6 months in, she kind of fired me. She said I'm not a reliable source of information. So she talks to my wife about my condition, because anytime she says, "How you doing?" I say, "I'm great. I'm
Yes.
absolutely fantastic." She's like, "You've got a level 3 skin infection all over your body. You're not great." It's like,
That
okay,
sounds
well,
like me, my
yeah.
wife doing that.
So she relies on my wife for real information, and my wife has her eyes on
Oh,
me every day. But I'm just wired that way.
yes.
So it's like in your case, when you get to be a certain age, less is more, because you're doing so much damage to your joints, to your, you need to preserve your body if you want to be that
Yes.
70-year-old guy doing what he's doing, and then make mental adjustments in your head that you're not 20 years old anymore.
Yup.
Uh, I call it aging gracefully. And if you live each
Yes.
decade fully, if you live your 20s fully, if you live your 30s fully, if you live your 40s fully, you'll be prepared for your 50s.
You're just
So
getting prepared for each decade.
I always laugh. My brother said the other day, he goes, I'm doing pretty good for a middle-aged guy. I said, you're going to live to be 120? You're not middle-aged, you're old. You're
Oh,
old.
that's funny.
You can go to IHOP and get a senior citizen discount. That's not middle-aged. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, man.
So,
Oh
but
man.
I don't feel old. I mean, at 60, I feel like I got a lot left in the tank. So,
Yeah, that helps
um,
me. That helps
yeah,
those that are a little younger than you.
yeah. I mean, I felt my age through my 50s, but obviously cancer is another thing. But I've been able to fight through that too. I've lost 20, 30 pounds more than once, put it right back on. Right
Wow.
now, I lost 20 pounds around on the last sessions of, I started chemo in February and
Yeah.
just finished up recently. And I lost 20 pounds, and I'm already put 15 back on in probably 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks.
Amazing.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I'll be back to fighting weight, 180 pounds, 10% body fat, and
Yeah.
I'll be able to hopefully push through the summer. So I'm really excited about that.
So tell me, in fact, this is something that also, kind of what my show's built around as you get older, how do you manage that? I mean, I know you're managing cancer and I want to, include that in there, but the days a week that you're training, I mean, most
Hmm.
people might see, and let's say you do some clip online and it looks like he's so amazing. And it's like,
Yeah,
okay, that's the tiny version of him. I'm more focused on, a lot of these elites and everything. They're like, look at me. And I want to show people the consistency in the days that aren't exciting, because that's really what it's
yeah.
about.
There's so much time spent alone, and especially with cancer, but even before cancer, as you get older, training is hard, and you're out there by yourself. Nobody's really watching. Of course, we have these computers now, so you can't
Oh,
you
yeah.
can't cheat. You can't cheat. The Garmin don't lie. So
No.
back in the old days, people be like, oh, I did this or I did that. It's like now there's like, let me see your
Yeah, my
Garmin.
fish
Let me
was
see your
like this
Strava.
big.
Let me see your Strava. I don't believe you. But what I tell myself when I'm training or I'm on a difficult training session is, for one, if I can't do this, I can't go to Kona. If I
Yes.
can't do this, I can't go to Kona. Now, for you, it may not be Kona. For you, it could be,
Yeah.
if I can't do this, I can't play with my grandchildren when I'm 65. So there's purpose to the pain, and I say that in the book. There's joy in pain, and there's meaning in how do I say it? Pain and suffering. There's meaning in suffering. There's joy in pain. So when you get to that point where it's painful and it's difficult, just know that that's where the nuggets are. That's where the gold is. Go through it. Go through it.
Yes.
Experience it. Get to the other side. You'll be proud of yourself. Finish the
Yeah.
workout. Suck it up. Just do it. Just keep
Yes.
trying. Just basically just keep trying. So some
Yeah.
workouts are better than others. I've had some runs where I just can't hit my numbers.
Hmm.
And it's a throwaway.
Yeah.
Now you're
That's
just out
my,
for a workout.
it's my
I
yellow,
differentiate. Yeah,
red, green.
I differentiate between workouts and training. A
Hmm.
workout is something you do randomly for fitness. When you're
Hmm.
training, it has a purpose. Each training block
Yes.
has a purpose. It has a meaning. It has a definition. It has a beginning, a middle, and an end.
Hmm.
When you think that way, as opposed to just a workout. And that's one
Hmm.
of the reasons I always put races on the calendar. If you don't
Yeah.
have a date on the calendar, you have nothing to work towards. So
Yeah.
the people who are like, I'm going to go to the gym and work out. For what? I don't know. There's no end, just to look
What's
better,
the
feel better.
purpose behind it?
And that's fine for a lot of people. But for me, I would lose the motivation to push the limits without the ultimate, without the goal of the, race day. So
Yes.
to me, those things kind of go together: training, race day, goals. And you don't have to be an Ironman triathlete either. It could be a
No.
5K. You could
Yes.
just put a 5K on the calendar.
Yeah.
Do it with a friend, do it with your wife. You're
Yes.
almost always supporting a charity or a cause, someone's cause.
Yes.
You get a free T-shirt, in some cases a medal.
Yes.
Some cases you get a cupcake or a cookie.
Yes.
Your spirit will be lifted by the people you surround yourself with in that environment, and it gives you something to work toward and look forward to. So you're more
Oh,
likely
absolutely.
to want to train than work out.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. What are your weeks like? I mean, what's your block
I
like?
work
Like,
I work with Jill Bartholomew, Be Fierce Multisport. She's a world-class athlete, world-class
hmm.
championship competitor in her own right. So she sets my schedule up on TriDot, and that's part coach, part AI. And
Okay.
they
Yes.
use your daily metrics to adjust your schedule according to where you want to be and what you're trying to do. But
Hmm.
during the week, it's usually an hour on the bike, an hour on the swim, an hour on the run. It doesn't really exceed an hour in any one of those two things. And I'll probably do one or two of those things each day. And then
Is
on the
that back to
weekends,
back?
no, so like if I had a swim and a bike, I would probably do the swim first because that comes first, and
Yes.
then I'd do the bike later in the afternoon. During the
Okay.
week, I ride indoor bike because it's
Yes.
just safer and easier. On the weekends, when I go longer, like now, I've been swimming in a pool all winter. I'll be
Hmm.
out open water here pretty soon. And then same on the bike. It's dangerous. People getting killed on bikes these days. So
Yeah.
I like to go to a controlled environment for my long bike rides. We have a trail here called the Comet Trail. It goes from Atlanta
Okay.
to Alabama, and
Woo!
they took railroads and turned them into basically a greenway. And
Oh, the
once you get
Trails to Rails program.
yeah.
Yes.
And this one's over 100 miles long. So once you get on this
Woo!
sucker and you get out of town, you can put your head down and go, and you don't have to worry about anything. So that's what I try to do with that. But the longer sessions, like you said, you don't go long every day. So I go long on
Mm-mm.
a bike once a week. I go long on the run once a week, and then that cycles every couple of weeks. So it's not as difficult as you would imagine. There are weeks that
Mm-mm.
are difficult, but then
Yes.
we fall back and start over again. So. But yeah, the outdoor long stuff I save for the weekends. Even though I'm
Hmm.
retired now, I can do whatever I want,
Yeah.
which has been a real advantage. I have cancer, which has held me back. But back when I had my home inspection business, I had my home inspection business, my family. My son
Yes.
was much younger. So to find the time
Yeah.
to train, I used to say to my wife all the time, I wish I could train like a pro and not have to deal with all this nonsense. And now, sure enough, be careful what you wish for because now I can train like a
Yeah.
pro, but I've got cancer. So, uh,
Yes. Yeah, that's
so
me. I'm up at like 4 o'clock on some days because I'm like, I got
yeah.
to get the long run in. I got to get the run in, and then I
Uh,
have family after the
And
rest
if
of the
you're
day.
like me, if you don't do it in the morning,
Yes.
every hour that goes by, the likelihood of it getting done gets smaller and smaller. And by seven
Yes.
o'clock at night, you're exhausted.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah. It's
getting up early and getting it done, getting it out of the way mentally is just so good for you.
now I will say though, I mean, you don't like this is the hard part though, is people think if I don't get up at 4, I don't have to do it. Some people just work better at night, and that's the
Yeah,
part
that's
is
true.
like get it in when you can.
Yeah,
Yes, the couch is wonderful, but it will
yeah.
always be there. The idea is
My timing has shifted on that. I used to be a morning guy because it was the only time I could do it.
yeah.
Business and life would just get in the way. And
Yes.
so now with cancer, I sleep a lot more, especially in the
Oh,
morning, and it takes me a little bit longer to get the motor going. So I tend to do
yeah.
the workouts sometime later in the day now.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to get it in when you can, and
Yeah,
when
I've done
in your
some runs in the
case,
dark.
when
I
the
go out
time's
in the
right.
dark. Yeah. So like
Yeah.
with the chemo,
Hmm.
I had a level 3 skin infection. Plus, I was taking antibiotics, which make you sensitive to sunlight. So
Yeah.
I was doing my run training after dark.
Oh,
Nobody's out there. It's nice and cool
no.
out. I was like, this is perfect. I never really trained at night like that, but
It's almost
time
mentally like
time
soothing.
doesn't matter to me anymore. I could train at 11. I could train at midnight. It doesn't matter. There's no 9 to 5 for me anymore. So
Do you ever just train like that? Like, you know what? I'm going to do it at 11 at night just because I
yeah,
can. No.
yeah. I mean, if
Yeah.
I'm awake and that's pretty late, but it usually be more like nine
Yes.
9 o'clock.
Okay.
Because I do go to bed pretty early. That's one of the things that happens when you get old is like people like,
Oh, I love it.
hey, you want to go meet us here or there? It's like, what time? 9 o'clock is like,
No.
9 p.m.
Yes.
p.m. No, no, I
Yes,
don't
that
think so.
switch happened to me a number of years ago.
I'm like, no, I can't. I just can't do that. You wouldn't want me there anyway. I'd be rather lackluster. I'd be like, ugh. So
Yes.
yeah,
When I mean, going into that chemo, because to me and a lot of others, people will think chemo, like, oh, one of my boss's wife, dad just passed away sadly from cancer,
sorry to
and
hear it.
it's like
Yeah, it's a sad, sad thing. Happens way too often.
he just looked so beat up and down,
Yeah,
and I didn't really get to meet him or know him. I met him
that's
a
the
couple times
hopelessness.
towards the end.
That's the
Yes.
despair. You see it. You've seen it. You see it in their
Yes.
eyes. They know what's coming. and
Yes.
and maybe not dealing with it, the best. But
Yeah, but like
facing your own mortality is morbid as hell.
yeah. Yeah. Like talk me through that when the days that you're like, this is hard, like it's hard to go out and ride for an hour,
Yeah,
sometimes, some days mentally, but when you really are just, what's that like?
the similarities for me with Ironman and triathlon and cancer are pretty funny because you got swim, bike, run, and then cancer. I had to shift to chemo, radiation, surgery.
Oh,
So I
yeah.
played it like another race. I'm racing for my life this time. And the challenge was to beat cancer. And to beat cancer, I have to do these things. They're like hard training sessions, and you have to get through it. For me, I'm fortunate, and everybody's different. How you come out of cancer depends on how you come into it. I come into it peaking physically, mentally, spiritually, home, family life, financially, insurance. I'm well covered. I'm well taken care of. I go to the best cancer centers. When I have surgeries, I go to Emory. I get the best doctors, and I don't wait. So I've got a lot of things playing in my favor. And I've been fortunate that for some reason, I handle chemo really well. So I've known people that did 3 sessions, couldn't do a fourth.
Yeah,
I'm up.
I've
I'm up
known
to.
that.
I'm up to 20, and instead of getting weaker and weaker, I can handle stronger and stronger. Now I do. I do reach a point where I end up hospitalized, but
Yeah.
even my doctor's amazed with 2 things: one, my ability to withstand what they're putting on me, and then my blood work. My blood work is different. She's been doing this for 30 years, and she's never worked with a long distance endurance athlete. And my blood work's different than everybody else's. My white blood cells are stronger or better. The numbers where they usually are for other people, mine are better. Even where they're
Wow.
off, they're only a little off. And
Wow.
there's not a whole lot of research on stage 4 cancer and long distance endurance because people either die or you just can't get enough people that have stage 4 cancer that want to be in some kind of test study.
Well, you're
And then
helping people
but
in
my
that
my
way.
my personal research shows that training is one of the prescriptions that the doctors can't write.
Yeah.
But I've been fortunate that I've been able to handle the chemo really well, and there have been some difficult, dark moments. In which case you lay in bed and wait for it to pass. That's all you can do. I'll get up and I'll do my workout, and then I'll go back to bed.
Ugh.
It's all you can do. You know what I mean?
I
And it's
love that
funny
though,
because yeah,
have that athlete mindset where you're like, yeah, I'm just gonna do the workout. I have to do the workout, and then
and if I
okay, I'm gonna go
don't,
back to sleep.
if in this case, if I don't, it's pretty much it's over. The day I
Yeah.
can't, the day I can't anymore. So a lot of people say, "Oh, I have to work out." No, you get to. It's a privilege.
Yes.
You don't have
It's
to
a
do anything. And,
yes.
and now I'm under the gun. So the day I stop, it's over, and I don't want it to be
Ah,
over.
no, I don't want it to be over for you. I
Yeah.
really, I
So
enjoy this conversation, catching up and kind of seeing like to be able to talk to somebody in this space of
yeah.
stage 4 and we just think of him as so frail and you're so strong. Like
That's one
to
of the
me it's
reasons I wrote the
phenomenal.
book. One of the reasons I wrote the
Yes.
book is to help people say, just because you have cancer doesn't mean you have to crawl into that cancer bubble and live that stereotype. You can go back to doing the things you love to do, and you might find that lifts your spirit. And there's something to be said about meditation, prayer, a strong mind, a strong body. goes a long way. There's a little bit of research. I did a research study with some Harvard people for a little while, for like 6 months, and it was just yoga.
Yeah.
We're getting an echo here. It was just yoga, and they found that people who did mild exercise, 30 minutes a day, 3 times a week, had 40% longer longevity.
Wow.
That's a lot. Now
Yes.
imagine if you did more.
Yeah.
So, and then I respond well to chemo. I handle chemo well. If you can handle chemo, you can stay alive a long time. I know some
Yes.
people that have had 100 chemo treatments, and,
Oh.
and they're still walking around. If you can't handle the chemo, if you come into it, you're overweight, you got diabetes, maybe you had a heart attack, you're going to have a hard time.
Uh,
You're going to have a hard time getting through chemo because
yeah.
it takes everything you have, mentally, physically, spiritually, family. Everybody's got to be on the same page with, the fact that it's basically all about me.
Yeah. What's one piece of advice you would give someone that's, 40, 50, 60, and beyond, and, starting to get off the couch and was like, man, I got to train as well as, what's a piece
This
of
is
advice you give
simple.
to someone
This is
going through
simple.
this?
Just keep trying and then buy my book.
Yes.
So, yeah, but it's just a simple message is like, you may not want to do it. I would start small, so you don't
Hmm.
get disappointed. When you're in your 40s and you used to maybe be an athlete or somewhat athletic, you've maybe lost it a little bit. You get off the couch and you try to do some things that mentally you used to be able to do, but suddenly you find very difficult. It could easily get you to just go back to the couch and say, this is too hard.
It's
So
over.
take little bites. Just
Yes.
start by walking and then build on that, because I believe once you get started, the mental benefits and the physical benefits will manifest in a way that you'll seek it out. You're not no
Yes.
longer going to be like, oh, I don't want to do it. No, you're going to feel like doing it because it makes you feel
Yes.
good.
Oh,
With
it's,
the
yeah.
endorphins and the hormones, and then if you start change your diet a little bit and then start getting a little more active, maybe you lose a few pounds, you start looking a little better in the mirror, you start feeling a little bit better, more energetic, you're sleeping better. This is momentum is you just get a little bit of momentum going, and then it snowballs from there until you become a full blown addict like us.
Yes.
At some point, it becomes obsessive, but that's okay. I've always joked that I'm on the borderline of a couple disorders, ADHD, OCD, and it's helpful when you're in these sports.
Oh, I think
Uh,
some of the like people that are in our situation that love this have a little bit of that OCD,
yeah,
mindset,
I
ADHD.
not diagnosed, and I don't need
No.
medication.
No.
My sport is my medication. So
Yes. Got to make some of those shirts. My sport is my medication.
yeah, and it's a prescription no doctor can write. So might as well
No.
start there. Yeah.
What's something you're learning right now? I guess just like I guess that you've acquired skill set wise mentally, like
This is
through
going to
all of
sound
this.
funny, but the thing I've been missing throughout my life is humility.
Hmm.
I always joked. I said, I lack humility. I'm overconfident. I said, but it's okay. I make up for it with overconfidence. But I did lack humility, and cancer humbles you pretty darn quick. I'm not as strong as I thought I was. I'm just a regular person who's susceptible, just like everybody else, to horrible things like this, and it makes you feel weak and insignificant.
Yeah.
I had to let people help me, and this is one of the most significant shifting points in my life. I've always been the strong leader. I take care of everything. I don't need people to take care of me. I take care of them. And now I'm in a position where I need people to take care of me. And you need to let the people you love help you, because that's therapeutic for them. My wife, my son, my family, they want to help me, and I need to let them do that because I need the help.
Yeah.
But when you don't let your family help you, you do them a disservice. And so I have to face the facts that I've got cancer. I need help, and I need to let people help me. I can't be the fearless leader that I was before, even though I'm still the fearless leader. You're not in the same sense mentally. It took me down a bunch of notches,
Yeah.
which allowed me to communicate better,
Yeah.
which allowed me to be more emotional. I cry more in the last 2 years than I have my whole life, and that's okay. It's okay to be
That is
emotional.
totally
So,
fine.
these are those are the lessons that I learned. Humility, share your feelings, share your emotions. It's brought me and my wife much closer together. Me and my son, same thing. All of my relationships have been strengthened. Not that they were in bad shape before, but they're stronger now than they ever were. And that's just from me taking a step back and, being more humble, allowing them to love me and help me has been a great thing. and it's helped me share with other people like I'm doing now.
That's
As opposed
beautiful,
to just
man.
being more self-focused, I'm more outwardly focused. I want to give whatever I've got up until the day I can't do it anymore.
Yeah, no, one of my things just through life and learning through all of, kind of being reborn again is just that idea of you got to be a little selfish, not in the sense of like you're taking your time out of, like, oh, I got to take time out of family. No, those 4
Yeah.
a.m. wake ups, that's your selfishness. No
Hmm.
one else in your family is going to be awake at that point, or 9 when the kids are in bed. No one's going to be awake by then. And, it's
Yeah.
quality,
Yeah.
it's quality versus quantity. You
You do
take
need to
care of
take care of
yourself in that
yourself. Yeah.
sesh. Yes, and then you've got all your time to focus on your family, and then you work your job,
Yeah.
but at the end of the day it still is family first,
Yeah.
and your
So
job next, and
for
yeah,
me,
so
that
on.
I needed the humility. I needed that. I had already done a pretty good job of taking care of myself. Uh, but I look at like moms are a good example of people
Yeah.
that are really selfless and they need to be more selfish. They
Yes.
take care of everyone and everything first, and then they don't necessarily care for themselves. And some people are that way. I was not.
No.
I made sure I took good care of myself, but that's also because when you feel personally, you're a better husband, better father, better friend. Not to the point where you're being too self-consumed,
Yes,
but
yes.
you can't also be under either. So I was the
No.
opposite. I had to come down a little bit in my humility, whereas some others have to, force some
Come
time
up.
for themselves. Yeah, but that
Yes.
it depends on who you are actually and where you're at in your
Yes.
life. So the advice would be to take stock of yourself and decide: do I need to be more selfish or do I need to be less selfish?
Yes. No,
It's individual
absolutely.
to the person, but for me, I needed to be less selfish, and that's
Same.
the whole point of writing the book, and it's the whole point of going to Kona and raising the money and doing the podcast is being selfless.
Yeah. Well, to wrap up here, Jim, and I really want to keep talking. I really do. This is so much
Well,
fun.
we'll come back and revisit.
Yes.
I've enjoyed meeting you. I feel like we've built a strong friendship
I
in the short time
always
that we've known each other. So
Well, I always tell my people, I'm like, we're gonna check back in, whether it's a year from now, whether it's 6 months. But before we wrap up, I have a couple questions.
sure.
A couple more. Is what does 20-year-old Jim think of 60-year-old Jim now? Like,
I
what
he
is?
20-year-old Jim was an idiot, so he'd be pretty impressed. He'd be pretty impressed with the things I've done. At age 20, I could have never imagined I'd be married, have children, build a business. My mind was just not there. So to look at what I've done with my life, when I first got cancer, I asked myself a question: what makes a life worth living? And have I done those things? And I'm pretty happy with the life I've led. Two things that are missing from my life that I would want it to to be full would be to see my son get married and to have grandchildren, and that's a little out of my control. But other than
Mhm.
that, I think 20-year-old Jim would be very impressed with who I am now and what I'm doing now.
I love that, man. That is so cool. And a final question, and this is the person that you would think of is going to be on your level. But if you could work out or do a triathlon with someone, who would that be?
Who would it be? Uh, I like Lucy Charles Barkley.
Yeah.
That sounds kind of funny, but I've been following the ladies in the Taylor Nibbs and Lucy Charles Barkley in the last
Hmm.
Ironman was amazing. I don't know if you watched the women's
I
20
didn't.
25. Well, Lucy Charles Barkley, she wins everything, but she bonked about 6 miles from the finish line.
Oh.
Couldn't take another step. Taylor Nibbs, who's her nemesis, went past her and she bonked 2 miles from the finish line. And then
Oh.
the third place girl, um, uh, she's the one of those. What did you say that training method was from?
The Norwegian
Yeah,
training method.
she's one of the Norwegians,
Uh-huh.
Slovakia something. She came up and won the race. But I have a
Wow.
lot of respect for the ladies in the sport. Taylor Nibbs
Hmm.
for sure. But if I had to go back, I'd say probably Dave Scott. Dave
Okay.
Scott's one of the OGs in the sport.
Yep.
He kind of invented nutrition and
Yep.
strategy, and that's back when the race was an endurance race. I laugh now. Ironman's a sprint.
Oh, it
They
is.
go balls out in the water. They go balls out on the bike, and then they run 2.5 hour marathons. It's like that's not an endurance race anymore. I'm sorry to tell you.
Well, back then they used to do like, what is it? Flat Cokes as their
Yeah. Oh yeah.
energy
Oh,
source.
but they didn't know. They had no
No.
idea. So Dave Scott was the first one to really strategize nutrition, and he would let everyone go on the swim, let them get out on the bike, and then he'd pass them on the run and win the race because they ran out of fuel. So he was the
Oh,
scientist, but he was my first kind of hero in the sport. And so if I
that's
had to
awesome.
choose, Dave Scott for sure, and then Lucy Charles would be more more modern, but each of them would kick my ass. Even though Dave Scott's an old guy now, I'm sure he'd still kick my ass. So
Well, but it would be a nice kind of like,
yeah,
hey,
it'd
we're
be
gonna
fun.
work out together, learn some
Yeah,
tips, you know?
absolutely.
But thank you so much, Jim, for the time, taking time out of your day, and just kind of hanging out.
Yeah, it's
And
been super fun.
I hope all the people at Still Becoming are enjoying this. And if they want to follow you, how do they follow you? Go ahead
You
and
follow
plug in your Instagram.
Instagram is stage42025, the number four, number 42025. And Facebook is just Jim Logan. And then
Mhm.
the book links will be out there. I'm on Amazon, just keep trying. So um, I've got high hopes for the book, and I'm still becoming. I don't think that
Yes.
ever stops. And I think that'll be a
Yes.
great message to leave with is I don't care
Oh,
how old you are. I don't care what's going on in your life. You're not done yet. You can still
no.
do meaningful things. You can still become whatever it is you desire, no matter what age you are, no matter what situations you're facing. There's a silver lining in there somewhere. You just got to search for it. So,
Yep.
still becoming never ends.
No, that's my message. My thing I end with always and throw it in sometimes is you are still becoming.
I think we dovetail nicely together. Your philosophies and mine.
And the final piece is remember that you are the only one stopping you. I'll see y'all next time. Bye.